Well, hellosies. My name is Jimmy, and you're listening to Grumblings. This, my dear stressed out friends, is your weekly pressure release podcast where we will be discussing all things culture, entertainment, and lifestyle. And trust me, by the time you've finished listening to our latest episode, you'll feel enlightened and a little less stressed. Stick around. A little less stressed. Stick around for. Oh, wait. Oh. Stick around for fun facts at the end of the episode. Let's take a deep breath together. And let's get into grumblings. In today's episodes, we'll be delving into 3 topics. Streaming services. Why so many? New Year's resolutions. Really? And we'll be asking, is this really healthy? Stay tuned for fun facts at the end. Let's get into topic 1, streaming services. So the number of streaming subscribers, that's people paying for access to a service, is expected to exceed 1 billion in 2023. Now, streaming services overtook cable and broadcast for the first time early in 2022. And it's easy to see why, right? We can access our favorite movies and TV shows on demand whenever we want, wherever we want. But the playing field was kind of simple and easy beforehand. The playing field was pretty simple and easy before. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and that was basically it, right? All of the other studios, networks, they just license their shows to a carefully hand-picked selection of subscription services. And Netflix back in the day was basically the default, right? That's the one that we all had, and we would access pretty much everything from Netflix. That's no longer the case. And I can tell you it's no longer the case because I can tell you the list of subscription services that I myself currently have. And I can tell you now it is quite a long list. I have Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, Paramount+, YouTube TV, Apple TV+, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Discovery+. I'm spending about $150 a month on all these different subscription services. This is way more than we used to pay for cable TV services. In fact, I have so many subscription services that there are only a small handful that I don't actually have, such as, like ESPN, Peacock. Does anybody actually have Peacock? I would love to know this because this was pushed really, really hard, but I feel like everything that's on Peacock was Paramount Plus. And I'm a bit confused. Other ones, BritBox, Fox Nation, BET Plus, and I guess there's a couple of others that I may have forgotten about in there as well. But that doesn't change the fact that I myself am spending $150 on all those different subscription services that back in the day used to essentially just be consolidated into one really good streaming service, and then the rest you would access through your TiVo, or your Sky, or I'm trying to be all-inclusive here for different countries, but you would just access those through your normal cable TV provider. So the question here is, have subscription services reached saturation? And when they do reach market saturation, what does that mean for us as customers? Netflix, for example, went from costing $7.99. It was like, £5, I think, in the UK? $7.99, so $8 in 2011. Now, cut to today, the exact same subscription service, if I can get my words out, from Netflix is $19.99. It's $20. So that's a huge increase. That's a 150% increase. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Jimmy, inflation. Yes, I've accounted for this, my dear friends. And inflation was only 32%. I say only, that's still a lot. But if we were following inflation, that would mean that Netflix today should only cost $10.54. The maths has been done here. Now, Netflix does offer a basic subscription service. And that basic subscription service is $9.99. So it's $10. But that is a really basic subscription service. It doesn't include any HD content. So I don't even know what you'd be watching it on anymore. Like, aren't we at kind of like 8K now? And I think most people have like a 4K television. So HD not being the standard to me is just bizarre, because 4K surely should be kind of like the new standard now. But that doesn't even include HD. And it limits you to only one screen. So essentially, yep, okay, Netflix can say, hey, we still offer a really affordable option at $10, which would almost match the inflation price increases over the last, 10, 12 years. But essentially, in terms of video quality, we're taking a step back 15 years. So I don't really feel as though that's a justified subscription pricing point or service that should even be offered to consumers. It's so bad that no one's going to buy it, right? Everybody's automatically going to go to the more expensive one. It's an excuse for them to say, hey, we still offer it cheap, but you still got to pay this higher price. Now, the solution that most of these subscription services have kind of taken to justify either introducing slightly lower costs or by charging really high costs is to say, okay, we'll give you a cheaper option, but now you have to have ads. In fact, you have to have a lot of ads, which kind of defeats the object of having these subscription services in the first place. It was an option for us to basically pay the studios, a set fee every month to say, I want to consume your content. And instead of going through cable TV where I have tons of ads and, whatever, I'm going to go to you and I'm not going to pay any ads, right? It's the model that we got used to. Netflix made this a thing. We all loved it. And that's been the new standard. That is no longer the case. And even Netflix are talking about introducing an ad-based model now as well. And I suspect that that's going to start seeping into other models that they have, other business subscription models that they have. So we're just going to enter back into the old world where all we ever saw were ads that would consume about 30% of our viewing time, which kind of really does suck. Netflix themselves have also been cracking down on password sharing. So, sorry, Mum. My mum uses my Netflix. And they're going to introduce this new ad-supported plan. Awesome. The most appealing thing, as we just said, about subscription services have been the ability to watch them without ads. But apparently Netflix's revenue of, wait for this, $29.7 billion. $30 billion is not enough for them. Now, to add in some context here, YouTube's revenue is $28.8 billion. And this is in the context of YouTube suffering from its ad support model as well. So YouTube, with almost the same amount of revenue as Netflix, has really been suffering recently. People have been jumping off YouTube, going to other platforms, consuming, more short form video content on TikTok or other platforms out there. And their ad revenue is going down as a result of this, right? The user experience also kind of sucks because when you consume these short form content platforms such as TikTok, you don't really encounter a great deal of ads, right? The ads don't feel intrusive. They don't cut into the content that you're consuming. You finish the video you've watched, and then you go on to the next video, and that might be an ad that you can actually just swipe past if you want to. In fact, TikTok, have to make ads more entertaining and appealing in order to get users to stop and want to interact or engage with that content, which I think is a great thing. YouTube doesn't. YouTube forces you to watch an ad as you're watching video content. Netflix is now going to be introducing a model that hasn't been working for YouTube. There is literally a case study example out there right now for Netflix to say, maybe that's not a good idea. However, they're still planning to do this. We'll see how it works out for them. Now, they're not alone here in terms of, I feel, increasing their costs and trying to rip consumers off, because Apple TV Plus, that was a great deal at $4.99. Didn't have a huge catalogue of content, but it was good quality stuff, right? Some really good quality shows. That's gone from costing, again, $5 to $7. Now, the reason for this that Apple have said is inflation. I think that again, based on maths, is higher than what inflation actually is. I'm not sure what numbers they're looking at for this. And if it is just based on inflation, then let's wait and see if when inflation goes down, their prices go down. I have a inkling that they will be keeping the price at $7 and using inflation as justification to increase their costs. Now, streaming used to be the customer-centric alternative to cable TV bundles, and that left us confused and forced us to... No. I'm going to skip that part. Let's see if the collapse of CNN Plus that launched, last year to ads absolutely everywhere. It was a massive big fanfare of the launch of CNN Plus, and then it just collapsed after 2 months or something ridiculous. Let's see if that's going to be a good sign of things to come. Will this now begin to force some of these streaming services into consolidation? So can we stop breaking things down and having the same TV show accessible on about 5 different subscription services with different seasons accessible on different services as well? I go onto Netflix, I can access season 37 or something of Survivor, which is a great TV series. But if I want to get the latest one, I've now got to go on to Paramount Plus. Or if I want to get season 40, it's Paramount Plus. It's messy. Everything is messy. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going to consume what kind of content at what time. So I really, really hope that the collapse of things like CNN Plus and some of these other streaming services that are really struggling right now is going to force them to start to consolidate them, make things cleaner and easier for consumers. But until that happens, I think I need to go and cancel some of my subscription services. So, yeah. Topic 2, New Year's resolutions. Now, I think, let me fix my mouth there. I think most of us are guilty of overindulging during the run-up to Christmas and just the holiday season. We promise ourselves that as soon as January starts, we're going to make changes for the better, right? We're going to drop that holiday weight and become a whole new person. New year, new me. But what I wanted to know is there any point in this? Is it better just to start whenever you feel like starting? So should I just start, mid-December? Should I start right now when I'm starting to think about it? Or is the new year as a trigger a good way for us to just begin something and not create any more excuses or delay something any longer? And what does the data, most importantly, say about people sticking to their resolutions? So we make them. Is there any point in actually making them? Do we actually stick to them? Is there any point? And what are some of the most popular New Year's resolutions? This one I thought was fascinating. So doing a bit of research, I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anybody, but the most popular New Year's resolutions were to lose weight. It makes perfect sense. That's one of mine. And I'm sure it's one of yours as well. Eating healthier. Eating healthier. I have to ask the question here. Is anybody else on a kombucha and probiotic kick at the moment? I don't know if this is a 2023 thing, but that's literally me right now. I'm on kombucha and a lot of probiotics. So I'm hoping it's just going to fix everything. So that's the second one. Quit smoking is the third. Drinking less. Yep, dry January makes sense, right? Saving money. I think that's a big one. Reduce stress. I'm not sure how people are quantifying this, but I guess that could be linked to other things, like, again, health-related, smoking, alcohol, etc. Learning a new skill. I think this is a nice one. I fully support anybody who picks up the New Year's resolution of trying to pick up some kind of like new skills or hobbies or things like that. Great. Travel more and a better job. Those are the top. Was that 10? Those are the top, anyway, New Year's resolutions that people make. According to data and research, approximately 45% of people's New Year... that's complete rubbish. Now, according to surveys that have been done, research that's been done, approximately 45% of people make a New Year's resolution. So that's quite high, actually. So 50% of people are making a New Year's resolution. Well done, everybody. But only 8%, that's not 80, that is 8, a single-digit number, are successful in achieving them. That's quite low, isn't it? Some other studies have also found this number as well. So it's not just that one anecdotal study that found this. In fact, the highest study found that 20% of people stuck to their New Year's resolutions. I think some people are lying there, because I say that the 8% feels low, or it was a shock to me. I think now I've sat with it for this whole 20-30 seconds. I can see that that's probably true. Even just using myself or friends as an example. 8%, yeah, that feels about right. 20%, that seems really high. So I'm going to say that 8% feels a lot more realistic. Who are these 8% of people then? And who are these 8% of people then who are sticking to these New Year's resolutions? So apparently, people who make specific and achievable goals are more likely to stick to their resolutions. Which, yeah, I can see that, right? If you're making something that's very specific, then it's easy to actually achieve that. Whereas something, I guess it's a bit more general, like be healthier, what does that really mean? That's probably a bit too broad a topic to pick. That's probably too broad a topic. Yeah, topic. I think topic still works for that. And with this, it's setting realistic expectations and breaking. And with this, it's setting realistic expectations and breaking large goals into smaller, more manageable steps. And this increases, as the data shows us, the likelihood of you being more successful with your New Year's resolutions. Habits, for example, obviously take time to form. So if it is something that you want to become, like a habit, like going to the gym and things like that, then you've got to be patient and persistent with it. So you've just got to keep doing it. You've got to just force that to happen every single day. And I read this somewhere before as well, that A lot of people get get a high amount actually of gratification from just telling people that they're going to do something, and that triggers the brain, and it gives that little spike. All those endorphins and dopamine and serotonin, whatever the happy one is. It gives you the spike in that to say, oh, yes, I've just done something good there, because people respond so positively to it. Just you telling them that that's what you're planning to do, the look on people's faces when they're like, oh, that's a great thing, and you feel great about yourself. And then afterwards, you never do it, because that gratification that you got just from telling people that you were going to do it is enough for you. And so you just give it up. That's a real thing. And I'm guilty of that, and I'm sure many of us are guilty of doing that as well. So in order to make something a habit, we've got to be persistent with it. We've got to actually persevere and actually do it, which is really important. And that leads into having a support system as well. So if we want to be successful, and we want to be one of those 8% of people who are achieving these New Year's resolutions, having friends or somebody that we can be held account to is really important. Now, I've done this on my social media before, and anyone who follows me on my Instagram and things like that will know that I occasionally post, when I'm doing like a Barry's bootcamp kick, right? Like I'm doing like HIIT classes or something, and I'll want to try to do 20 classes within a set period of time. And I use the social media platforms as holding me to account to make sure that I achieve that 20 out of 20 goal that I've set myself. So I do believe that some kind of support system or having some way to be held account will force you to actually, accomplish these goals. The sad reality, though, is that most people give up on their resolutions by the end of January. So the no drinking one, dry January, great. As soon as February comes around, what does everybody do? They go out and they start drinking again. And you see that gym memberships and things like that, within the first few months of a new year, they just dive off a cliff. So it's, anything that's going to be a health kick related activity or lifestyle change, they make all their money in the first few months of the year, because throughout the year, people just keep dropping off like flies. They must all have a great summer because no one's doing anything by that point, so they can all just take a break. Writing things down is a great way to make sure that you do try to keep up with those things. So if you want to be one of those people who perseveres past January, writing it down can be a really useful activity, I guess. And also celebrating small victories along the way can help to motivate you and increase the likelihood of sticking to a resolution. I'm not sure exactly how you would go about doing that. So how would you create kind of like a small victory for something? Oh, I guess one way that you would do small victories would be if it was a health food thing. So I used to do this. I'm using myself as the anecdotal example here because I've done pretty much every resolution there is available. Every one that I've listed there, apart from smoking, I've pretty much done at some point. And rewarding yourself is a great way to kind of maintain it, right? So if you're doing like the healthy food kick, making sure that weekdays, for example, you eat healthy. Monday to Friday, I'm going to eat healthy. And then on the weekend, I'm going to indulge a little bit more. Now, I used to use the word treat here. So I used to say, oh, on the weekend, I'm going to treat myself. No, I had to start changing my mindset there because treating myself was putting the good stuff in my body, not consuming the junk food. That's treating myself well. So when it comes to me consuming any other kind of food, if I want to have, that burger and fries or something, burger and fries is not the treat. Burger and fries is me indulging in something, but it is not a treat food. And it's taken me a while to start switching out of that mindset. But it's quite effective, actually, when you do that. There you go. There's a freebie for everybody from the motivational coach. That is me. And then the final thing, I guess, that was recommended for resolutions is just tweaking them as time goes by. So being okay to kind of make small changes to them in the hope, I guess, that in the long term, you'll still be able to achieve the original goal that you set out for yourself. I think my personal favorite goal that I ever set myself was to run a marathon. It was setting myself like one big goal at the end of the year. And I said to myself, I must achieve this one thing by November 5th. And by setting that very specific time frame for myself as well, it meant that I had no choice, but I'd spent money on the marathon. I'd invested quite a bit of money in that, flight tickets, hotels, the lot. So I had to make sure that I actually did attend the marathon, and that I wasn't, and then I was going to complete the marathon, because that was very important for me as well. And that involved lots of things. I had to go to the gym every day. I had to be consistent in terms of, working out. I had to eat very healthy as well, make sure that my body was getting the right kind of nutrition. I was really good. I didn't eat sugar for like a year. So for one whole year, I basically didn't touch any sugar, which is surprising now when I think about it, because that's one of my biggest vices. But yeah, that's what I did, and it actually worked. I mean, it worked for that year. Now I still consume rubbish, but because we're still in we're still in early 2023. We're in February, so I'm actually still being quite good at the moment. I'm literally on a juice cleanse as I'm recording this right now. So yeah, I set myself the goal to do a juice cleanse, and I'm currently on a juice cleanse. Nice. Now, I've done all of these different things in the past. Saying what works best, I guess, for one particular person is really difficult. I think the key here is just setting yourself that realistic goal, and then making some kind of plan. Just making some kind of actionable plan with specific steps and goals along the way. So what I've done for myself this year is I've written down some of my resolutions, and I'm making those small little tweaks and changes that we spoke about a moment ago. I'm making some of those as I'm kind of going along. One of my big things, for example, is I really want to write a book this year. That's one of my main resolutions. And now I've just said it on here. Everybody can hold me to account for this and ask me at the end of the year, where's your book? And I will have to sell you my book or at least link you to it on Amazon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see. But that's one of my main goals of this year, is to do that. It is written down. I don't have a vision board, but it is in my to-do list, and that is what I have set myself. So resolutions, to sum up, I guess they are worth it for some people, because 8% of people means that people genuinely do stick to this. And if you get something out of it, great, fantastic. New hobbies, skills, things like that, I think that's superb, and I think more people should do those things. And if we want to succeed at them, I guess some of the things that I've just told you about that I researched online might be quite helpful. But overall, it's up to you guys. You've just got to do it. Now, feeding into topic 3 quite nicely, actually, because this is kind of connected in some way, is to ask the question, is it really healthy? Now, this feeds into part of the health kick that I mentioned earlier. And we've all been browsing down the aisles in the supermarket, seeing all these different products that promise all kinds of different health benefits. But should we really be listening to them, or should we be taking the claims that they're making with a pinch of salt? It can be hard to know what's truly good for us, as the definition of healthy seems to have changed over time. There are many conflicting opinions on what is actually healthy, which, sounds quite surprising, but it is. Low fat, low carb diets, are those healthy? Should we cut sugar out completely, or just start consuming it in moderation? What is healthy for us? Now, my younger sister is the person that I normally go to if I have a question about what's going to be healthy, because she is a stickler for checking the ingredients on all packaged foods. And she vetoes just about anything that's going to contain some kind of unpronounceable ingredient. On the other hand, I've always taken a little bit more of a casual stance to this, and I do indulge in the occasional highly processed delight. Did someone say trans fats? Yummy. But in all seriousness, I do mainly try to eat things that are good for me, and I'm often directed to the next best thing that will cure all of my ills. One by my younger sister, but also by all of the fads and trends that I end up seeing and consuming through social media as well. Now, until my younger sister does begin her own Health Kick podcast to educate us all on what we should and shouldn't be consuming, my dear stressed out friends, have dug through the research, and there are a few things that we may commonly have thought were healthy for us, but may actually not be so healthy. The first one, detox diets and cleanses. How ironic. I have just mentioned that I am doing a juice cleanse, but let's have a look. So many detox diets and cleanses are marketed as a way to remove toxins from the body, right? We've all seen that. But there's very, very limited scientific research or evidence to support their effectiveness. In fact, some detox diets can actually be harmful for you, particularly if they involve fasting or eliminating entire food groups. This is hilarious because I am on my 5-day juice cleanse and I am literally doing all of this. Should I just give up on it right now? I have been allowing myself to munch on some carrots as a bit of a snack outside of my juice cleanse. So I've deviated very slightly. But has anyone else ever done a juice cleanse before? Because I find the greatest struggle when doing a juice cleanse, it's always in the evenings, right? That sounds odd. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. As I'm currently recording this, obviously, I am on my 5-day juice cleanse, not even a 3-day, 5-day. I've gone all in on this juice cleanse. Should I just give up on it right now? I mean, I have been allowing myself to munch on some carrots, so I've deviated from it slightly. And even just to deviate from this topic for just a brief second, has anyone else actually done a juice cleanse? Because I find the hardest part of a juice cleanse, and I've done them in the past as well, so it's not my first ever juice cleanse. I've done quite a few of them. But the hardest part is in the evenings because I'm a terrible snacker. So I get all kinds of cravings when I'm just sat at home. And even whilst I'm recording this, it's why I'm actually recording this. I'm recording this because it's a great distraction for me and I'm not wanting to snack on anything. So I guess that's how you can solve this problem, everybody. If you get those evening cravings, create a podcast and just talk about your problems. Perfect. Brilliant. But yes, detox diets, they can actually be harmful for your health by removing and eliminating specific food groups. But what about things like low fat and fat-free products? Are they good for us? Now, while reducing fat intake is often recommended for weight management, consuming too many low-fat or fat-free products is actually quite harmful for your health because these products typically contain added sugars and artificial ingredients that contribute to weight gain and other health problems. So that kind of sucks, doesn't it? You think to yourself when you see a product that's advertised as fat-free that I'm making the healthier choice, I'm making the better choice for my body. But the reality is that that's not necessarily true whatsoever because they just dump a bunch of other stuff in there. It kind of just defeats the whole object, really, doesn't it? Now, this next one, I was a bit surprised by gluten-free foods. I genuinely have been under the impression that removing or cutting out gluten products or consuming gluten-free products is healthier. I think that we've just been, overexposed to all of the negative things that gluten does to us, and therefore gluten-free has this association to healthier eating. But unless a person has celiac disease or a specific gluten intolerance, there is no reason at all to avoid gluten. And in fact, many gluten-free products are way less nutritious than their gluten-containing counterparts, because the gluten-free ones often lack fiber and other important nutrients that we need. So don't skip on gluten. Gluten-free is not the way to go unless you have a specific issue, obviously, or a problem with gluten. It should not form part of just a generic healthy eating kick. So that was a good one for me to know. I'm going to throw out my gluten-free bread immediately. Energy drinks. This one doesn't surprise me too much, I guess, but there are many energy drinks that are advertised, I guess, as more healthy. They are, marketed as energy drinks. Now, energy drinks are often marketed as a way for us to, boost our energy and improve our athletic performance. The biggest issue with them is that they often contain high amounts of caffeine and sugar. And as we all know, sugar is essentially the devil, right? It's not included in this list because we know that sugar's not what we're supposed to be consuming. And sadly, a lot of these energy drinks contain a lot of sugar, which is, again, harmful for your health. And speaking of this, I actually saw an energy drink in the supermarket the other day. I was shocked. This energy drink claimed that it could help with weight management. That was on the actual can itself. Weight management was one of the benefits of consuming this energy drink. What on earth? How that got through regulators to be advertised is just beyond me. This is a relatively well-known brand as well. This is not some small random. This is a well-known company that is making the claim of weight management or weight loss by consuming their energy drink product. That is just shocking. That will not help you to lose weight. Everyone is always looking for those quick fixes, right? If you see that, you think, oh, great, I'll consume this and it'll burn my lunch or it'll burn that chocolate bar that I just ate. No, just don't eat the chocolate bar. Or another great thing, I do this sometimes. I get the chocolate bar, I eat half of it and then I throw the other half in the bin. Half the amount of calories, and I'm still relatively satisfied at the end of it. It's a bit of a waste, I know, but it's a way to have a small treat without having to do a HIIT class immediately afterwards. Artificial sweeteners. Now, I am a big artificial sweetener fan, but there are specific ones. I'm going to mess up these names, but artificial sweeteners such as aspartame. I feel like aspartame, so that makes sense. Aspartame and saccharin are the two. These are often used as sugar substitutes, but research has suggested that they have negative effects on the metabolism and weight management. That really sucks, guys, because I choose the artificial sweeteners under the illusion that they are going to just not make me fat. Like I add, when I make myself my English breakfast tea in the afternoon, which is an odd time to have it maybe, but I always have a cup of tea in the afternoon. My cup of tea, I put a sweetener in there because I don't actually, I prefer it with the sweetener. I prefer the taste of it. And I think I probably prefer the taste of it because I've also convinced myself that I'm making the healthier choice, but maybe I'm actually not making the healthier choice and it's messing up my metabolism. We already have a metabolism that deteriorates over time. I don't think we need any help with that. Please, no. Juices. Now, while juice contains vitamins and antioxidants, it's also high in sugar, and really importantly, it lacks fiber. So if you didn't know, when you eat food with the fiber intact, the sugar is absorbed a lot more slowly. and that reduces those sugar spike levels that you get. So the fiber reduces that sugar spike. It allows for the energy to be more sustained over longer periods of time, and the fiber helps you feel fuller. So if you want to do that, just have a piece of fruit, I guess, rather than going down the juice route, go down just the piece of fruit route. That was harder to say than that. Yeah, that was a bit of a tongue twister there. But juice is still going to be better for you than having like a Coca-Cola or something, because although they contain almost the same amount of sugar, the juice still does contain some nutrients. So if you're going to go for, a can of Coke, you should probably go for a glass of orange juice instead. But even better than that is to have a glass of water and then have an orange. And just adding on this, when I was on my crazy health kick for my marathon, when I was running that, juices was one thing I avoided. I avoided it like the plague because, again, it was the sugar content. I had to avoid that at all costs. So when you're on the plane, they come around asking if you would like an orange juice. I was like, I really do, but I'll just take the water, please. So sad. So sad. That was such a sad year. So I deprived myself of so many simple pleasures. Granola. I'm surprised about this because granola is often marketed as a healthy breakfast option. I don't want to shout the but it is high in sugar, fat, and calories. That really sucks. It does depend on the brand and recipe a little bit for this, but granola should not be our go-to first thing in the morning. That's why it tastes so good. I like granola in the morning. And granola, what is one thing that you often find in granola? Dried fruits. Guess what else is not really that healthy for you? Dried fruits. And although dried fruits are a convenient source of vitamins and fiber, they also are really high in sugar. And the worst part about them is that they can be very easily overeaten. And that's one of the big difficulties with them. So again, you think you're consuming something healthy, just like when you have fruit juice, but you're still consuming something that's high in sugar and is not actually that great for your overall health and well-being. Fat-free salad dressing. If you're like me, I'm not a huge dressing person. I like a little bit of dressing on my salads. I don't like pouring it all over and having everything just soaking in dressing. If you do that, and you often pick out the fat-free salad dressing, which may seem like the healthier option, unfortunately, again, it contains added sugars and artificial ingredients. And as we've already discussed earlier, that's not the best decision to be making for your body. So fat-free salad dressing, maybe just, again, moderation for all of this stuff. The one thing I thought was a little bit sad was white rice. Now, white rice is considered unhealthy because it's a refined grain. And anything that's going to be refined is probably not going to be good for us, right? It means that the nutritious outer layer, the bran on rice, and the germ have been removed. So the only part of the rice that contains any kind of nutritional value, it has been removed. It's why we get brown rice. When you get brown rice, that still contains some of that nutritional value. By removing that and just having white rice, you're removing all the nutritional value that the rice actually had, leaving only a starchy endosperm. That's a great name, endosperm. A great name, a great word. It's a great word, endosperm. So this process strips the rice of its fiber, its vitamins and minerals, and just makes it a less nutritious food choice, which, again, another sad thing to know. I'm sorry I'm ruining all these foods for you. Again, you can have all of these things just in moderation. The one thing I did find very surprising, less nutritious food choice. Eating large amounts of white rice can actually be associated with a number of different health problems as well, such as weight gain, because white rice is a high glycemic food. And if you've seen in the glycemic charts and stuff, it tells you the kinds of foods which can raise your blood sugar levels very, very quickly, and that leads to an increased insulin secretion and increased fat storage. So that really does suck, and it increases it. It increases the fat storage, particularly around the waist, which sucks even more. Oh gosh, that really does suck, doesn't it? You get an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. So that also sucks as well, because anything that's high on the glycemic index has is associated and linked to an increased oh my gosh. It has an increase as well of type 2 diabetes. The high glycemic index ranking for white rice has been linked to an increase in type 2 diabetes. That really is, yeah. And cardiovascular disease. So a diet high in white rice has been associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And it may contribute to elevated levels of bad LDL cholesterol and other risk factors. Ooh, I just had my annual health check yesterday, actually, and apparently my LDL cholesterol levels are perfect. So my bad cholesterols are very low, my good cholesterols are where they're supposed to be. And I consume quite a bit of, I wouldn't say necessarily a lot of white rice, but I like sushi and things like that, but I guess I don't consume it every single day. But that kind of sucks. And then just nutritional deficiencies in white rice, because it doesn't contain anything, right? We've just spoken about how it strips everything away, the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals. Yeah, that really does suck you. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm ruining all of these food types for you. But I guess with all of these, you allowed, and I still consume most of these things as well. Even I've just said, right, number one on there, the number one thing that's a complete fad and you shouldn't do is a detox. I'm literally on a detox right now. So I'm still doing some of these things, but I guess as with anything, it's just doing something in moderation. So to promote good health, I guess it's a case that we need to go with the recommendations of choosing whole grains and picking brown rice over white rice, whole grain breads and pastas, and just things that are higher in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. So maybe fiber is the thing we need to be looking out for. It seems as though everything here, that it strips out the fiber, that it becomes unhealthy for you. So we need things with more fiber in them. So basically, if it's not natural, and it's not being forced on you with some fancy ad or branding, then it's probably the healthier option. I guess we'll all just have to start to become label warriors and start checking the labels of the foods that we eat more. And you might still be naughty from time to time. I know I am, obviously. I do indulge myself. But at least you're making educated, informed decisions, so that when you do decide to be a little bit naughty with something, you are an informed consumer. And then you can do something about it afterwards. Next up, fun facts. Now, I've renamed fun facts because my original intention at the end was to have some kind of one statement pieces that would be me having a little bit of a moan again, but I've just been moaning at you for a short while about a few different things, about a few different kinds of topics. So I felt at the end we'll switch it, and we're going to switch to some more fun facts instead. Knocking everything over. The first fun fact that we have is the largest snowflake on record was 15 inches wide and 8 inches thick, and it fell in Fort Keogh in Montana. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it fell in Montana, we'll say, in 1887. That is a huge, huge snowflake. I can't even visualize how that would fall from the sky. That's kind of intense. It's like a meteorite, a snowflake meteorite. Can we all start saying thank you a bit more to our fellow Earthlings who hold the door open for you? Manners, everybody. Remember, don't cost anything. A group of flamingos is called a flamboyance. The average person will walk the equivalent of 5 times around the world in their lifetime. I mean, I honestly feel like I've walked that when I enter any tube station in London anyway. And for anyone who's ever visited the tube in London, you know exactly what I mean. Those walkways feel long. The lifespan of a single taste bud is 10 days. That, I think, has created more questions for me than has answered, but maybe that will be another topic at one point. Taste buds. How useful are they? If they're dying after 10 days, I guess not so much, but maybe that's why our taste buds change. I'm not gonna... More questions. I have more questions about this. My dear stressed out friends, that is it for today. Feel free to see my unedited version on YouTube at My Grumblings and connect with me on social, mygrumblings.com. And remember, it's okay to feel grumpy sometimes. Until next time.